Being able to check in online for your flight can save you a lot of time, but there are times when checking in online isn't an option. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 reasons why this might happen to you, along with some potential solutions. Let's go.
Dream vacations start here.
One of the reasons why you might not be able to check in for your flight is because the online check-in isn't open yet. Usually online check-in is open 24 to 48 hours before your departure time, so if you try to check in any earlier than that, you'll not have the choice to do so. You should be able to find out when your check-in time opens by checking the booking confirmation email you receive from the airline. Most airlines will even send you an email or text to let you know that your check-in window is now opened. I recommend that you check in as early as possible because sometimes the airlines will overbook their flights, and if you're one of the last people to check in, you may end up missing your spot on the plane. Also, if you happen to be flying Southwest Airlines, the time you check in for your flight also determines your place in line to board. And since Southwest does not do assigned seats, the closer you are to the front of the line, the better seat choice you will have. The second reason why you might not be able to check in online is because you're on an international flight. Before an airline can let you board their plane heading to another country, they have to check your passport, any visas that might be required, and other documents. Some airlines will let you upload these documents online through their website, but most will require you to do this in person. If you do have to present your documents in person, be sure to arrive earlier to the airport. Not only will you have to wait in line to be able to check in for your flight, but also the security lines as well. My recommendation is to arrive 3 hours before your flight leaves to be able to complete these tasks. Reason number 3, the airline may have to check some travel documents in person. So you may have uploaded all your documents to the airline, but there could be some mismatching information. Maybe you've entered your passport number wrong, or the expiration date was wrong, or maybe your uploaded documents were simply just not readable. In either case, you'll have to re-upload your documents if there's time, or go and present them in person. Another thing that the airlines might have to check for is COVID-related documentation. Some countries still have COVID rules in place that might require proof of negative COVID test and or proof of vaccination. If that's the case, you may be able to upload these documents online as well, or show these to the airline at check-in. Reason number 4, you get assigned a random security check. If you get picked for this, you won't know you've been selected for this until you try and check in for your flight at the airport. There'll be a note added to your profile that you've been randomly selected for a security check. You'll have your luggage, documents, and carry-on bags searched before you'll be allowed to check in. This has happened to me a couple of times when I've been traveling internationally. Don't be alarmed by it or feel like you've done something wrong. It's a common thing that could happen to anyone, and it should only take 5 to 10 minutes depending on how much stuff you're carrying. Reason number 5, you have been specifically flagged for an in-person security check. This is different from the last reason because this would not be a random security check. The airline has flagged you specifically for the security check. There are numerous reasons for this, but the most common reasons are number 1, you have missing or unclear documents. Number 2, the TSA might flag you for secondary security screening selection, also known as SSSS. The TSA doesn't disclose the criteria for being selected for this, but it's an added security measure that is used. And number 3, booking at the last minute. On to reason number 6, the airline has overbooked your flight. If you try and are unable to check in for your flight within the 24 to 48 hour check-in window, then chances are your flight has already been fully booked and you are now left without a seat on the plane. Airlines here in the US tend to overbook their flights because they expect a few passengers to either cancel, postpone, or miss their flight. If they can count on a few passengers not to take their flight, then they can replace those missing passengers with others, which will allow the airline to maximize their earnings by having a completely full flight. This does not tend to happen in Europe because there is a law that states that if you're denied boarding due to an overbooking, you can be compensated up to 600 euros depending on the distance of flight. For that reason, airlines do not overbook their flights in Europe because it's just too expensive for them. Here in the US, if you're denied boarding, you are entitled to compensation that is based on the price of the ticket, the length of time you are delayed getting to your destination, and whether or not your flight is a domestic flight or an international flight. Most bump passengers who experience short delays on flights will receive compensation equal to double the one-way price of the flight they were bumped from, but airlines may limit that amount to $775. Passengers experiencing longer delays on flights will receive payments of 4 times the one-way value of the flight they were bumped from, but airlines may limit that amount up to $1,550. Reason number 7, you booked your flight through a travel agency. If you booked your flights through a travel agent, like myself, sometimes you won't be able to check in for your flight if your travel agent hasn't given you the reservation or confirmation number for your flights in order to do so. If you have a good travel agent, this should never occur. For me, depending on the type of trip it is, I send my clients their flight confirmation number either right after it's been booked or 2 to 4 weeks before the trip, along with a detailed itinerary, which would include all their confirmation numbers they will need during their trip. You should never have to wait until the day before your trip to find out your confirmation number for your flight. Just note that some airlines do require additional fees if you check in at the airport when you had the option to check in online. However, If your only option was to check in at the airport, it's unlikely that your airline will charge you any additional fees. And if the airline does charge you a check-in fee, it's usually pretty expensive, ranging between $20 to $50 per person. Hey, if you like watching this video, make sure to check out some of my other videos that I think will be helpful to you as well. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to catch you in the next video.